week 9 of the fantasy basketball season, and here's a few centers you could buy low or trade for and should this week. The first guy is Andre Drummond of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and we learned earlier in the week that Drummond, he's not going to be playing for Cleveland anymore, and now Cleveland, they're going to sit him out until they find a trade partner for Drummond. So I made a video about that as well, and the fantasy impact it has on Andre Drummond and Jared Allen, obviously, who's going to be the starting center and take over now here for the Cavs. But anyway, Andre Drummond, he was a great fantasy player so far this year, and he put up big numbers with this Cleveland Cavalier team. 17.5 points a game, 13.5 rebounds, 2.6 assists, 1.6 steals, and 1.2 blocks, 59% from the foul line, which always was a weakness of Drummond, and 47% from the field. So the thing with Drummond now is his contract's $28 million left, and I don't know how many teams really could take that contract on, but the rumors are that the Raptors and the Cavs, they've been talking trade, and obviously he could fit that Raptor team perfectly. If you got Drummond, you got Pasquale, you're going to have Butcher as the backup over there, you got Fred VanVleet, Lowry, so that'll be a pretty solid team if Drummond goes there. And they don't really have a real center over there in Toronto. They got Aaron Baines and a couple backups, but they're not going to do much. So Drummond, he could go there. There's rumors about the New York Knicks as well, and obviously him getting bought out or going to Brooklyn. So it's a wait-and-see approach where Drummond goes. But if you're a team up in the standings in fantasy basketball, I would go out there and try to make a move for Drummond, because wherever Drummond goes, you know he's going to put up numbers. You know he's a good rebounder, and you know he's going to block shots, and he's one of the better centers in basketball and fantasy basketball. So this is the perfect time to go out there and buy him low before he gets traded to a team and he has a couple huge games. The next center I would look to get this week or buy low is Deandre Ayton of the Phoenix Suns. Ayton, he's still having a great season, but the numbers have definitely dropped off for Ayton compared to last season, and I think that's got to do with Chris Paul, Jay Crowder, and a couple other off-season additions this Sun team made. On the season, he's ranked number 81, 13.9 points a game, 12.2 rebounds, 1.8 assists, 72% from the foul line, 59% from the field for Ayton. In the last couple weeks, the numbers, they've been pretty similar. 13.3 points a game, 10.7 rebounds, 1.3 assists, 64% from the field. And he's ranked number 95 in the last 2 weeks. His scoring, it's not where it was last season. His rebounding, it's pretty much the same. But the games he's having, they're not huge numbers for Ayton. And he's really only helping out in about 3 categories: in points, rebounds, and field goal percentage. The last 3 games versus Philly, February 13th, 11.6 rebounds. Then versus Orlando, February 14th, 10 points, 13 boards, 71% from the field. Then 2 nights ago versus Brooklyn, 16 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. He did add a 3, which is rare for Ayton, and 77% from the field. So DeAndre Ayton, I think you could get him on a low this season. He went in a lot of fantasy drafts, second round, maybe early third, but he's just not putting up the numbers like he did last season. That's for sure. His points are down 5 points a game. His field goal percentage is honestly up 5%, but he's taking less shots. Chris Paul was there. Booker, he's getting more shots this season. And like I said, they added Jay Crowder as well and a couple other guys off the bench. So DeAndre Ayton, he's still a good fantasy ball player, but I think you could buy him low considering where he went in fantasy drafts and with the numbers he's putting up this year. The next center I would look to trade for or buy low this week is Montrezl Harrell of the Los Angeles Lakers. Harrell, the 6th man of the season last year, but now the playing time, his usage, and field goal attempts should definitely go up with Anthony Davis out 2 or 3 weeks. And that's what I'm saying. I got a couple Lakers in all these categories for trading for this week, because Anthony Davis, he was the second guy over there in LA. He was a big part of the team, obviously. And now the Lakers, they got to find how they're going to replace 25 points a game in the next few weeks. And we're going to see guys like Schroeder, Kuzma, and Harrell get most of that workload. But we'll see which guy emerges. And this is why I say all 3 of these guys are buy low candidates this week. Montrezl Harrell, He's ranked 106 on the season, 13.3 points a game, 6.3 rebounds, 64% from the field, 73% from the foul line. He's ranked 106 this season. In the last couple games, Harrell, it's been up and down. February 12th versus Memphis, he only played 16 minutes but had a good ball game. 14.7 rebounds. February 14th at Denver, 4.6 rebounds and assists. And then February 16th at Minnesota, the first game Davis was out totally. He only played 18 minutes, but he contributed 17 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, and a block. So Montrez, he could score the basketball. He won the 6th Man of the Year last year, but his points per game are down 5. But now with Anthony Davis out, I think he could average anywhere from 16 to 20 points per game as Harrell. And a lot of fantasy owners, they're really not high on him like they were last season. He's only owned in 85% of fantasy leagues, and you would think he would be owned in more as Harrell. So mostly 10 and 12 team leagues, maybe he's not owned, and obviously 8-team leagues. But right now, I think he's a buy low candidate before we see him explode and have a couple 25-plus point games. The next center is Nerlens Noel of the New York Knicks. We learned early in the week, Mitchell Robinson, he's going to be out with a hand fracture 4 to 6 weeks, and he went for surgery a couple days ago. So now Nerlens Noel, he's pretty much the only real center on that roster. I know Taj Gibson's the backup, but he's up there in age. And Taj Gibson, he's not going to play major minutes or really have fantasy value. And on the season, he's ranked 119 is Nerlens Noel. 4 points a game, 5.3 rebounds, 2 blocks a game, 54% from the foul line, 56% from the field. So Noel, his specialty is shot blocking ability and his field goal percentage. And now the last few weeks, since he stepped in and had a bigger role with this Knicks team, 6.4 points a game, 6 rebounds, 2.2 blocks a game, 64% from the field. So he's ranked 80th in that time. So if you need some rebounding, you need some shot blocks, Nerlens Noel is the guy to get. And his game logs haven't been huge either. February 13th versus Houston, 10.6 rebounds, a steal and 2 blocks. February 15th versus Atlanta, 6 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. And then last night versus Orlando, 6 points, 9 rebounds, an assist, and a steal. And he shot only 42%. So Noel, he was picked up in a bunch of fantasy leagues over the last week and a half. His percentage jumped, I believe, about almost 40%. But he's a player you could definitely go out there and trade for, and you're not going to have to give up much at all, in my opinion. And he'll help you with field goal, he'll help you block shots, and I think he could be a top 10 center until Mitchell Robinson comes back. So Noel, I would go out there and get him, especially if you need some shot blocking ability and a decent field goal percentage to boost you at the center position. And the 5th and final center, I will look to try to trade for a buy low this week, Serge Ibaka of the Los Angeles Clippers. Ibaka, he's been decent so far in his first year with Los Angeles. He's ranked 107 with 11.8 points a game, 6.7 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 1.2 blocks. He's giving you a 3 a game, 51% from the field, 81% from the line. But the last couple weeks, he's been struggling. He's ranked 142 in that time with 10 points, 6.5 boards, 1.6 assists, 1.1 blocks, 75% from the foul line only, and 49% from the field. So Ibaka, obviously, his scoring's gone down from last season. Also his rebounding. But when you play with great players like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, you're going to expect that to happen. Even though Paul George, he hasn't played in 2 weeks, and Leonard, he hasn't played in almost a week. And the last few games since these guys have been out, February 14th, 21 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks. February 15th versus Miami, 7 points, 9 rebounds, and a steal. And then February 17th versus Utah, 10 points, 4 rebounds, 2 threes for Ibaka. So the numbers haven't been great. He's putting up mediocre to free agent waiver wire type numbers. But he's a player that I think will bounce out of it. He'll have some big games along the way like we saw on February 14th. And he's just learning the system maybe. And obviously with all these good players on this Clipper team, some nights he's going to disappear and some nights he'll be good. But he's definitely a buy low candidate, is Ibaka. He's going to help in shot blocking. He could hit a couple threes. and he's a decent field goal percentage shooter. So that's a few centers I would look to try to get and trade for here in Week 9 of the fantasy basketball season.